More. Make host. Yes. Okay, now I think that I can leave the room, and I also think that it's recording on YouTube, so I think we're all good. Have a great show, you guys. One of these
All
days,
right.
I could
Thanks.
just leave you alone and let you do it yourself. It really isn't because I don't trust you. It's because I have no idea what I'm doing. So now I'm
It's all
leaving the
good.
meeting. Okay, bye.
It's all good.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Thanks.
Okay.
All right. As always, we just need to see if you guys can hear us out in the room. If you could hear us, just somebody write yes. Can I get a yes from anybody out there in the room?
They have to click on our YouTube then.
Bobby next. You got the shaft, Paulie. They just said Bobby next.
Bobby. That's all right. It's all right. It's like Batman and Robin.
All right. Andrea got us. We're on live, Paulie.
All right.
Oh, Paulie
What's up?
boy. The pipes are calling. You know that song?
No.
Really?
Absolutely
You're like
not.
13 years old. You've never. Well, it's not Paulie Boy. It's Danny Boy. You never heard of Danny Boy? Oh, Danny Boy, an old Irish
Yeah.
jingle.
Oh, Danny boy. Yeah.
Yeah. Just all right. Whatever. Anyway, thank you everybody for tuning in. This is Fantasy Fam with BK and my nephew over here, Paulie Boy. Thanks for
What's up,
joining us
guys?
today. The always colorful Paulie Boy Kleinow.
Colorful.
Colorful.
Nice.
We're here today on the Lenny Melnick Fantasy Sports Network, as always. Thanks to the legend,
Yes, sir.
and thanks to the lady, Andrea,
The Roto lady.
setting us up, making magic happen, doing what we
Yep.
do. Paulie, you didn't mention yet my setup, my new setup. I got new lighting. What do you think?
It's beautiful. It's
You
beautiful.
like it?
I see a lot of blue and orange. It's my two favorite colors right there.
Who's this right here? 24, Red Sox.
Manny.
Manny. That's
Manny.
my boy. Andrea probably loves it. Loves it.
Yeah.
Little Manny Ramirez.
Yeah, of
Good.
course.
Good stuff. Just so you guys know, today I'm gonna give you a little bit of a rundown as to what we're working on today. So today we're gonna talk a little bit about the Stratomatic League that we're in. I'm not gonna get too much into it. I know George just dove into it pretty deep. I'm gonna go give a little bit of a periphery, a little bit of fantasy strategy, fantasy pet peeves. We're gonna dive into some questionable first base picks, guys that maybe were stars, now they're kind of fringing, guys that are hoping to be stars, a little bit this and that. We're going to dive a little bit into fantasy ethics. Paul, how do you feel about ethics?
Ethics. I know you don't have much of a gist of fantasy ethics, but I'll teach you, Bob. I'll teach you.
What movie is it where the main character says business ethics and it freaks the guy out? Come on.
I have no idea.
They're playing like a Jeopardy type game. Anybody out there in chat heaven know this one? This is the easiest. It's a layup. It's a layup. No, nothing. All right, Billy Madison. Really easy. Come on, simple, guys. Simple.
Business. See, and I've seen that movie, and that's just one part I never picked up on.
Well, whatever. I don't even know if you're related to me. And the last thing
Wouldn't be the worst thing.
The last thing I'm going to throw out there is I invested in some questionable baseball memorabilia this week, and I wanted to throw it out to the room, throw it out to the crowd, see what you guys think. But all right, let's jump into it. So, Paulie, this week we did a Stratomatic League.
We did.
It was my first foray into it. You too, right?
Yep. First timer.
What'd you think?
I love it. I'm happy that I did it. Think it's really cool. It's really interesting, especially during now with nothing else going on. Makes it even better. I love that it's simulation. You know, the games happen quick. Everything like that. You know, it's very stats based. Like you have to take a lot of numbers and things like that into account as far as percentages and things like that with the hitters and pitchers and everything. And I thought it was really cool, really interesting, and I think it's something that I would be interested in doing, even if there was a season happening right now.
Yeah, it was. It's a whole new level of geekdom. I got to be honest with you. Like it's between the equations and the numbers. Like you're really gonna dive into it. I got to say, I don't know if I'm gonna get as into it as like Andrea and there's a guy named Doug in the league.
Hmm.
They're reciting equations and it's like blowing my mind. I was on a chat with them before, but
Yeah.
pretty wild.
Yeah, I
Pretty
don't think I could. Yeah, I mean the equations and stuff. I can't really keep up with too well, so I just try to figure it out the best I can. I mean,
Yeah.
I actually wound up sweeping the first yesterday, the opening day and the first three games.
Are
But
you self-promoting already? Are you already self-promoting? We're
no,
5 minutes into the show. We're 5
I'm
minutes into the show.
surprised. I'm just surprised.
Yeah,
I'm
so
just
am I because I think your team is awful. I was actually shocked that I went 1-2 and you went 3-0 in the first 3 game set. But kudos
well,
to you, man.
yeah, I just don't think that Stratomatic is like based on, name value at all whatsoever and like real life statistics that much. You know what I mean? It kind of like just makes up its own game and, you know, stats and stuff like that. I feel like it doesn't really matter what you think of my team, it matters what Stratomatic I guess puts together of that team,
Well, it was last year's stats, and I mean, even I'm looking at the draft a little bit right now, Paulie boy, and your first rounder was Javier Baez at 7.29 million. Just so everyone knows, we had a $90 million budget, so you really
Yeah.
early on want to get value. So Paulie took 7.29 Javier Baez. That's fine. That's fine. I
He
think I did
wound up with
better.
four home runs in 3 games.
All right, don't get too excited. And I got Gleyber Torres for less than 5 million. Very happy about that. But your second round pick, Paulie boy, your second round pick was Danny Santana, who I believe you dropped already
I already dropped, yes.
for 3.7 million. I mean, what's going on in your head in that moment?
I don't know. I think at that moment, I think I took Javi because he's one of my favorite players in the game right now. And then I took Danny Santana with a totally different mindset that I had by the end of the draft, which was the day after. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I if I could have did that knowing what I knew the day later, I probably wouldn't have did that. But you live and you learn.
Hold on a second. George is flirting with me. I like it. Georgie, baby, we gotta
He
get
is
you
a
on
handsome
video,
bastard.
brother.
He is a handsome bastard. Where do you think I get it from?
Georgie, we gotta we gotta get you on video. But your second and third round picks are already dropped.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm gonna leave
thought
that there.
Yeah.
I'm
I
just
thought I had.
gonna. Go
Thought
ahead.
I had value in. I thought I had value in Gary Sanchez. I don't know. I thought Danny Santana was a great utility guy, could play every position. But once defense came into it and injuries, then I realized, the next day I heard that was really a big part of it. I was like, this. I totally messed those first few picks up. Besides Javi, and yeah, I wouldn't have did that. Yeah, I'm
See,
not caught up. I'm not caught up on what happened in 3 game series. Me and Malpal are actually playing tonight, so that'll be fun.
Matt Powell, he's lying through his teeth. He's so caught up in it. It's ridiculous. He's so caught up in it. He's like, oh, the kid knows how to draft. That's what he said to me when I told him he went. And I had to tell him he was 3-0 last night. He said, oh, the kid knows how to draft. Okay, all right. So I think enough people want to hear about how wonderful your team is, the
All
Brooklyn Bullies. By the way, you stole Bullies from me in my other league, but I'm going
Did
to
I?
not touch that. Yeah, the Beantown Bullies. Come on. Always
Alright,
trying to
whatever.
emulate Uncle Bob. Always.
Yeah.
The kid is. All right.
Whatever
Anyway,
helps you sleep at night.
let's keep moving, kid. All right. So Paulie and I are in another league called the Staten League, obviously named after Staten Island, where we both live. We already have our keepers in. We're deciding if we're going to allow, I said in the earlier show, to reset our keepers just because of all the weirdness we have going on with the COVID epidemic and all this jazz. But I'm if we reset it, I wanted to ask out there. So my 3 keepers are Garrett Cole at $33, Sonny Gray at $5, and Lucas Giolito at $4. And I kept going back and forth. And initially, do I keep Eugenio Suarez for 13, but he was hurt with the pool accident, or Muncy for 12 in place of one of those guys? So I don't know. Throwing it out there. What do you guys think? Would you go with the 3-pitcher setup, which is what I was kind of going with Gray and Giolito and Cole, or would you throw in Muncy or Suarez in there? Paulie, what's your thoughts on that?
You know me. I'm kind of biased towards offense. You like building as deep of
Love
a
you,
rotation.
Georgie. Love you, Georgie. Keep going, Paulie.
I do look a little bit like Abe Lincoln, but a modern day Abe. I feel
Very
like
handsome.
I feel like this is what Abe would want to look like if he was around today.
going.
So I'm very offensively biased. I prefer to fill out a lineup, and as far as my rotation, I obviously like to have an ace, but you like to have 3 aces, and there's nothing wrong with that. I would just rather fill out my lineup than try on three aces, because injuries to pitchers is so much more common in my opinion, and it's they have an easier fall off. You know what I mean? Like they can easily fall off easier
No, I got it.
than a guy like
I got
like
it.
a hobby or something like that.
You're having a little bit of trouble with the English language right now with the Staten Island accent as well. I know it's getting mixed up, but I got you.
It's all right.
I got you.
You
But,
know what I
you know,
think. You know what I mean.
But Malpal and Georgie said I should swap out Muncy. Or Malpal says a hitter. I get it. And Georgie, I love dual eligibility and triple eligibility. My God, it makes my heart go absolute pitter patter. I love it. Right? Like I draft around that. So that was a really hard one for me. I might revisit it if we allow it to go back in the mix. Wow, Malpal would throw Cole back in at 33. All right, Malpal. It's
I
a
thought you
thought.
were sticking with Cole.
I am. Well, I am. Malpal said he'd throw him back at 33. He'd throw Cole.
Oh,
back at 33.
he wouldn't keep him. Okay.
See, in the open draft though, Cole, I feel like, because you got to remember too, the room, which I don't gauge everything by, but the room would put Cole at 45, right? It's a New York crowd. They get excited. It's a Yankee crowd. So that's what they would do. So I thought I was getting a deal at 33. I don't know. I'll revisit it. Thanks for your take on it, guys. I appreciate it.
Yep.
One other thing about this league, I just want to say it really quick. My nephew, Paulie boy, the guy we're talking to right now, made such ridiculous trades during the year. Listen to the offense he put together. And I'm going to preface all this by telling you that he did not make the championship game. I'm going to say it again. He did not make the championship game with this roster. You ready for this? Will Smith,
Do it.
Acuna, Arenado, Baez, Rizzo, Robert, Donaldson, who's this? Turner, Xander, Bregman, Soto, Conforto, Judge. Can you imagine that?
It's a pretty deep team.
Who puts an offense together like that? I guess
I
it
do.
says something about the rest of the league that we were together. I mean, you won nothing. But anyway,
True.
just
I
refresh
didn't
my
win
memory.
anything.
You know what the question's going to be. Just refresh
I don't
my
know.
memory.
I don't know who won the league. I don't know. I don't remember. I didn't
You know
follow.
damn well. You know damn well who won the league.
I didn't
damn
follow the
well.
end of the year. I didn't
All right.
follow.
All right. So since we're dove into fantasy right now, when you're in a league, whether it be our league, other leagues, whatnot, tell me a little bit. And I'm going to ask this question, and I'm going to run out really quick, Paulie, because I hear a crying 2-year-old over my left corner. All right.
Mhm. Yeah.
What is your biggest fantasy pet peeves? What are things that absolutely drive you out of your mind when either playing fantasy baseball or with other owners? All right.
Mhm. Yeah.
You got
Yeah.
3 minutes. Go, take it.
I can't stand dealing with people who don't interact with another team owner. But if you're not interacting, then there's no fun in it for me. Just managing your team. There's a whole other side of fantasy sports, not just baseball, but fantasy sports. And that's interacting with your other, I guess, league owners. And it's just discussion. You know what I mean? Discussing your teams, discussing who you'd like to maybe move, who you plan on keeping. Not just when you talk to somebody and you try to just gauge how they're feeling about their season, about their team. And they're just like, no, I'm not going to make any moves. I'm not going to do anything the rest of the year. I'm not gonna do anything besides add and drop my guys or anything like that. And I just get confused and really bothered by people who talk like that. I just want to know where you feel about certain guys, things like that, and maybe say, okay, well, I'd like to give up maybe this guy, and if you're not feeling that confident in one guy, then let's try to work something out either now or maybe we'll revisit this in a week or two. But when I come to you and we're just talking and you're just like, nah, don't even bother, don't want to make a trade. That's you. If you're 10-0 or if you're 0-10 or whatever, doesn't matter to me. It's just like if you are right away totally against even discussing like swapping players, that bothers me. Just because I like to make moves with, but for me, it's interacting with other league owners and having those negotiations and trying and kind of feeling like somewhat of a real life GM, even like a smidge of what they go through when they talk trades and stuff. You know what I mean? And like when that happens, that's when I really enjoy fantasy. It's not just about me checking my lineups and add and drop. It's about talking to other owners about their teams and things that they like to change about their teams or whatever, and just having that continued conversation. That's what I like. And when somebody doesn't like to do that, it really drives me crazy.
So what I'm hearing you say is you don't like the non-engager.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That bothers me. That really does, because why are you gonna join a league and then just totally go mute the rest of the year and maybe make like 10 ads and drops and that's
Yeah.
it, and say I
Well,
live and die by my draft.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we had a guy in our league, cousin Lou, who made it to the championship game, but just fell so in love with his roster, didn't make a move all year long. But
Right.
so be it. Anyway, for me, I'm gonna make this short and sweet. I don't like non-responders. I don't like people you reach out to, even if they don't like the trade, they just go radio silent on you. It really, really chaps my ass. I really hate it. I just don't get it. Like, you're in the league, you're putting your money, respond. If you don't like it, respond. I don't
Right.
understand what's so tough with it.
Right. It's
But
similar pet peeves then,
yeah.
I would say.
But all right. So my next question here is it's a little bit of a mix up here. So between real and fantasy baseball, right? I want you to think over two modes, two complicated modes, real baseball and fantasy baseball. What position do you put the lowest importance on when you're drafting or when you're looking at your own baseball team that you like to root for? Is there a difference or is it similar as far as what you put a preference on as far as building a team?
Right. So we spoke a little bit about this earlier, and I think for me, it's the least importance for me in fantasy are closers. And for me in fantasy, it's mainly because you can go and get that Baltimore Orioles closer who's maybe going to get you 25 to 30 saves, and yeah, he may have an ERA close to 4 possibly, but if you surround him with like two other um closers, let's say one that plays for, I don't know, the Rangers or the Rays or something like that, you're going to get 20 to 30 saves from those guys as well, anywhere from a 3 to a 4 ERA, and that's fine with me. I don't have to waste a draft pick on that. You know what I mean? I can fill out another roster spot. Now, in real life,
Oh, hold on one
go
second.
ahead.
I just
Yeah.
want to jump on that thought. See, I put high value on closers, and I know there's a lot of fantasy experts and gurus out there that are, oh no, you can't spend a lot. I'm not saying I spend a lot per se, but I might spend a little bit more on one or two quality closers that I know are short a job,
A
like
sure
a like
thing.
a like a Aroldis Chapman guy, because those guys will get you 3 or 4 appearances per week and lower your ERA and WHIP if it's a 5x5, and you
Sure.
reap the benefits of that. And if you have 4 closers or 5 closers, if that's your model, which I've had before and I've only reaped benefits of that, I love it. I love it.
Mhm.
So Paulie and I are at odds on this. Go ahead, Paulie. Your next point there.
Yeah. So on the opposite side of that, in real life baseball, um, closers and even just relievers are, at this point of baseball, this really kind of has taken place over the past few years. Kind of like when the Yankees kind of got rid of Miller and Chapman and things like that, and people started really building their bullpens, it really became more important to the game of baseball than maybe any other position. Having that back end of the bullpen
Yeah.
strength. Go ahead.
See, I think the Yankees, I think if you're using the Yankees as an example, like there's always that one-off that's an exception to the rule. So the Yankees just happen to do it right. Typically in real life baseball, I know it's great to have that closer, but for every one Mariano Rivera, you have, 100 Armando Benitez's, right? So I'm like, I just, for example, when the Mets went and got Diaz, I was not excited in the least bit as soon as that happened. People were like, oh, you had to have been. He had a great season in Seattle. I got to tell you, I hated that trade. I hated it.
You did.
My rule of thumb in real life baseball is never trade for closers or catchers. If you're going to develop them, develop them. If you're going to pay for them in free agency, pay with them in free agency. Don't trade any of your minor league stock for a catcher or a closer. Don't do it. Don't do it. Because typically they don't pan out. They don't become Mariano Rivera. They don't become Mike Piazza. Typically they don't work out that way. For every one Mike Piazza, you have a million Jesus Monteros. You just don't do it. Don't use your draft on catchers and closers, and don't trade for them. Go ahead.
Yeah, there's something to be said about that though, because when you trade for closers, it's somewhat different than when you sign a closer, or or if one comes up through your system or anything like that. It's just weird. Like when you make that trade, you put so much into that trade, like those prospects that the Mets gave up. And instead of that's more valuable. You're giving up more value there than if you were to just sign Edwin Diaz if he was a free agent. You know what I mean? Because it's just money that you'd be losing out on. Oh yeah, that was a bad signing, but now it's an atrocious trade, mainly because you gave up so much in prospects. So that I totally get, because they could flunk either way. But when you give up top prospects in your system instead of just giving up top dollar, then you're really taking a chance, and a chance that likely doesn't work out in your favor.
All right, Paulie boy. For those of you that are just joining us, we so far we've went over a little bit of Stratomatic. We went over some fantasy keeper thoughts and whatnot. Some fantasy pet peeves. Me and Paulie got after a little bit of our fantasy pet peeves, and our real life and fantasy life, what positions we put low importance on. So if you didn't catch it here, do me a favor, go on demand, or go on the Lenny Melnick Network to hear what you might have missed. All right, got to go on, drive the traffic. Okay, all right. I'm gonna take this opportunity quick just to throw a quick trivia question out there. Quick trivia. If Georgie's still out there, Georgie loves some trivia. Malpal getting a mix. Lenny, I'm sure Lenny knows this one. If Lenny, you might have even used this one at some point. I've heard in my other life, not my pre-Lenny life. So here's the question: which player in the major leagues had the most hits in the decade of the 2010s? So from 2010 to 2019, what player had the most hits in Major League Baseball?
It's a good question.
It's a good one. It's not someone you might think. He definitely has a name, but he's not someone you might think. So I'm just gonna drop that there for a second.
Right.
And I'm gonna pivot. All right.
Yep.
I'm gonna pivot. All right. So today, Paulie, I don't know if you knew this, but I don't know if you know who Justin Mason is. You know Justin Mason? Andrea, nope, not Ichiro, Andrea. Maybe the decade before, and not Miggy. Nope. Maybe the decade before those guys might have been like 1, 2. Not Andrews. Lenny did use it. See, Lenny?
You're copying Lenny now. Is that what you're doing?
I'm telling you, I didn't hear him say it. I heard
it
independently. Nope, not Ryan Zimmerman. Not Ryan Zimmerman. So today is a gentleman named Justin Mason, right? And he runs a league called Friends with Fantasy Benefits, and he did a podcast-a-thon called Potapalooza. Nope, not Zimmerman, not Pujols. And it's still going on right now as we speak. He had, I think, like must have been 100 different guys on for slots, just speaking about baseball with baseball questions. This guy was stuck in his home interviewing people from 10 o'clock this morning until 10 o'clock tonight. Imagine that.
Wow,
So
pretty
I
cool.
was in a group. What?
Pretty cool.
Yeah, it was cool. I was in a group of 4 at 1 o'clock, and we talked about fantasy ethics. And one of the guys in our room was a lawyer. He runs a site about fantasy ethics. Really, really interesting stuff. So I wanted to pose some of those questions and thoughts with you and get your thoughts on this, as well as
Mhm.
our audience out there. So here's my first question: does a team with keepers need to fill a full squad if they're tanking? So obviously it's a setup where they're trying to get keepers for next year or get draft position, so on and so forth. So
Yep.
does a team need to fill a full squad if they're tanking? What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, why wouldn't they have a full squad? You know what I mean? Or
Hold on a
why?
second, Andrea, not Jeter. I want you to keep thinking though. That's why I want to let you know. But go ahead, Paulie.
Why wouldn't they have a full squad just to tank? I mean, like if I found myself at like the bottom of the standings, I would do anything just to win some games. You know, get competitive, try to sneak into the playoffs. You know what I mean? Even if I was in last place, I would do anything just to get that last spot in the playoffs. I'm sure it wouldn't be that far out of the question. So without a doubt, I don't understand why anybody would not fill out that roster with the best players that they feel that they could fill them out with. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
see, yeah, I hear what you're saying. I feel like if a guy was tanking and let's say he wanted to keep a Freddie Freeman, had Freddie Freeman on his team, right? And he
Hmm.
picked up the 2019 version of Jesus Aguilar. He's just a name that pops to head, right? And
Yep.
he wanted to start Jesus Aguilar. If I'm the commissioner, I don't love it, but I really can't say anything about it. As long as he's fielding an active lineup of a
Right.
guy who plays, I mean, do what you got to do, right? Like that's fine. Again, I don't love it, especially if there's playoff positioning. So if that guy is playing you and me and you are battling it out, I'm pissed off because you're gonna get a gimme, right? You're
Right.
facing Jesus Aguilar instead of Freddie Freeman, so I'm annoyed.
Right.
Andrea, there
So
you go. Andrea, there you go. Cano is the
you know.
answer. It was Cano.
Yeah.
Good
See,
job.
my guess was Votto also. When
Yeah,
you mentioned it to me earlier, you only gave me one guess, and I had Votto, and I was wrong as well.
yeah. No, Cano. It was
I
Cano.
know.
Don't you know, Robbie Cano?
Yeah.
So,
So I gotcha. Yeah,
yeah.
it makes sense.
Um, here's one that I know is dear to your heart, Paulie. And when I say dear to your heart, I've been in baseball leagues with you, fantasy leagues with you. I know this gets you a special way of fired up. Really, really gets under your skin. Paulie boy hates when a team that's out of it or not in the playoffs picks up waiver wire players.
Yep.
Paulie, so here's the question: can teams out of it, whether it be in the regular season or in the playoffs, pick up players?
So in the playoffs, absolutely not. If you're not in the playoffs and and it's a redraft league, it's not a keeper league, then no, absolutely not. And we had that problem with fantasy football, with guys not in the playoffs. It's not a keeper league. It's nothing. Picking up guys in fantasy football playoffs. And I was baffled. And your response to me was horrible, saying that, oh, they're just playing their friends in the consolation bracket, all that, all that BS, whatever. That made no sense to me. In baseball, if it's a keepers league, I understand. You know, the teams that are in the playoffs can make those pickups, um, just because they, maybe they're picking up a few guys that they like, that may be, that may be a cheaper option for them to keep going into next year. I get that, but there has to be some kind of limit to them picking up guys, maybe just because there's playoffs going on. You know what I mean? And my ads should be way more important if I'm in the playoffs than if you're not in the playoffs. But in a
Yeah.
keepers league, it's a little more touchy. In a redraft league, it's totally out of the question for me. It's like absolutely not. If you're not in the playoffs and it's a redraft league, you should not be anywhere near the waiver wire. Nowhere near.
See, Andrea in the chat room agrees with you. I disagree. I think if people paid their money And if it's not a redraft league, but let's say they're in, the losers bracket and they're playing their buddy and they want to beat them for bragging rights or whatnot, they pay their money and they
Ugh,
should be able to pick it up. I'm sorry they're not making it easier on you to win a championship. Listen,
I
that's the
that's
way
that's horrible.
it happens. I know.
That's
Listen,
horrible.
I have fell victim to it before myself when I was making a run and they pick somebody up and they had a higher waiver priority than I did. Really, really gets under my skin. Really annoys me. But what can you do, right? Like they
You
paid their
you
money.
you you can redo. You can undo what they did. That's what you
Malpal's
can do.
against me too. Malpal says redraft. No, I have a
Yeah,
different.
You're not going to find many people on your side when it comes to redraft. Keeper league is a different story. There could be maybe some guidelines with it. I don't know if you want to get complicated like that. But redraft is an absolute no-no. You're out of the playoffs. You shouldn't even be looking at the league at that point. What is the point of even looking at your team? What are you trying to make your team better for? To beat your friend in a consolation bracket and not win any money? If there's money on the line, absolutely do it. If there's, I don't know, bragging rights, then you take a back seat and play with the team that you have. That's it.
All right, Paulie. We're just not going to agree on this one. We're just not
I
going to
don't
agree on
think
this
anybody.
one.
I don't think anybody would agree with you, Bob. On that
Yeah.
one.
Andrea, no, they're not playing to place. But I mean,
No, the
they're not
season's
playing-
over.
they're
The
not gonna
regular
end up
season is
getting the
over.
money, but it's more bragging rights amongst friends. Like the league, it's probably worth to put this into context here. This is a league of friends, right? So they bust each other's chops, this and that. So if two teams are out of it, but they want to play each other and be competitive about it, I say they should be. It's not like they're unknowns. So anyway,
No. Yeah, they're not playing regular season games. They're in a bracket called a consolation bracket.
see,
They're in a
Mal Powell
consolation
here.
bracket.
Hold on a second. Matt Powell just said if teams are still playing games, then yes. So they
Yeah,
are
because
playing. They're not picking up players and out of it, not playing games. These guys are still playing games, just out of the winners bracket. That's what I'm saying. They're
Yeah,
still
but
actively
they're not playing for any. But they're not playing for
They're
anything.
playing for bragging rights amongst their friends. They paid their dues. They should be able to pick up who they want to pick up. All right, that's my
Oof.
piece.
Oh man, I would like to get back to that one and just
All right.
keep going. We could
I'm
talk
sure
about
you
that for
and
an
I-
hour.
Yeah, that's fine. All right. This is the last one here. So, how many? And this is an interesting one. How many league members? How many league members would it take to overturn? So, in a 12-team league, right? How many league members does it take to overturn a trade? And what are your thoughts of the practice of doing that? Because I've been in leagues where you start to build a culture of vetoing trades, and then
Yeah.
it becomes ticky tacky, and then it gets ugly. It gets
Yep.
real.
It gets ugly
real
fast. It can get ugly
It does.
fast.
It does. So take your time, put some thought into this. I got to go check on the little one again, really quick, Paulie. But put your thoughts into this. Go.
Yeah. So vetoing trades to me is something that should only take place when there is collusion. Like when you suspect collusion occurring, then yeah, you can override a trade, veto a trade, absolutely. But if you're vetoing a trade and it's a legit trade, it's a trade that this guy offered to me and it's totally unfair to him, but he offered it to me and I accept it. Why am I the one accepting it, taking all the heat for accepting a trade that is clearly in my favor? That's how trades happen sometimes. You're going to veto that trade mainly because it's not fair to you, who is not even involved in the trade. So that doesn't make sense to me. But I understand vetoing a trade if there is collusion happening. If you believe that there's collusion happening, normally collusion is pretty obvious. So that's when I would consider vetoing a trade. There's plenty of times that trades happen that I'm not involved in, and I'm just like, wow, like I wish I got that player, or I wish I was a part of that trade, and I wasn't, and I was like, wow, I wish I could veto that trade, but I don't, because it's not collusion. The guy just maybe made a bad offer, and that guy's getting away with it, and that's sometimes what happens in not only fantasy sports but real life sports. So only time you should be overriding a trade is when collusion is happening.
Yeah.
You agree?
I agree with you unless it's so. I mean, I was part of some really bad trades last year. I think you can attest to it. We had a guy in the league that was not a veteran player. He's probably the only non-veteran player or non-informed player in the league. And I definitely took advantage of him. Unfortunately, I did. But he approached me and made some ridiculous offers that were in my favor, and I took them. I fully
Right.
I fully expected you guys to veto. I really did. But the room is interesting with this. First off, Lenny said nobody wants to finish last, so keep playing in regards to our last one, Paulie. So people are coming on team Uncle Bob, team BK here for that last question. But anyway,
Yeah.
hold that
All
thought.
right.
Hold that
No
thought.
problem.
Hold that thought.
No problem.
Andrea says 70 to 75% veto. Vetoing is almost never a good idea. So Lenny says it is collusion if huge player is not offered to all. Yep, at least one message board. Yeah, it's true. It's true. You got to put it out there 100%. In our football
That's
league,
fair.
just because this is fantasy altogether, baseball is me and Paulie Boy's bread and butter. But in our football league, Paulie, tell everybody what the trade you made with Brandon last year was. Quick.
So I got Ezekiel Elliott and Odell, who had a horrible year, and I gave up Travis Kelce, Josh Gordon, who was still playing with the Seahawks, I think at the time.
Or Patriots.
I'm not sure. Well, he was with the Patriots. Josh Gordon, Travis Kelce, and David Montgomery from the Bears, the running back for the Bears. And I got Zeke. Pretty much, I only got Zeke, and I gave up the best tight end in the game. Josh Gordon, who was actually playing halfway decent. He was okay at the time, and Montgomery still had a lot of potential in the beginning of that season. This was like 4 weeks in. And at that point,
go ahead. Finish your thought.
So at that point, I accepted the deal. It was offered to me. I accepted it, and it blew up the whole league. It actually almost ruined the league the rest of the year. And there were two guys in particular who were really fired up about it and wound up making trades between themselves that was really collusion. Unfair.
I had to veto a couple of those.
You had to veto a couple of them, but they wound up making a trade that passed.
They did. I mean, it didn't help them. It didn't help them too much ultimately. But I think when you made that trade, you getting Odell and Ezekiel Elliott, it was the names that they got caught up in. It wasn't Odell of 2 years ago. It was Odell with Cleveland now.
Right. It was Odell who got off to a really cold start. You know what I mean? He had one good game against the Jets at that point, and everybody was expecting him to feel it out and start playing better, and that just never happened. Zeke was pretty steady. Zeke for Kelce, I feel like, was more than fair, but for whatever reason, he threw in Odell. He wanted a couple other guys, and that happened. But wasn't that ridiculous of a trade.
So let's go back to the original question. Is that to overturn? Andrea says 70-75% of the league has to do it. That makes sense. I typically have it be 5 or 6, which is 50%. But maybe I'll up it in the future. I've always been back and forth with it.
I would always say majority. So if it's 12 guys, not including the 2 guys who are in the trade, so then that would be 10. That would be 10 guys left to vote on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So then it would have to be six guys.
Yeah.
To veto.
Yeah. Yeah. Andrea said she's never seen real collusion, but like I said, Paulie and I in our football league last year, 2 guys.
No,
two guys
I've seen real collusion. I've seen real collusion a couple of times, and it's always been in football.
You know why, Paulie? You know why, Paulie? Because your friends are idiots.
That's why. Yeah, but this year was your friends.
They're idiots.
This year was your friends.
It's true. It's 100% true. All right, let's move on. So this is a little segment that we've had on a couple of times. It's called Stardom or Just Dumb, right? So in regards to your draft, do you draft guys based on stardom or dumb? And this is the first based edition, right? So it's first baseman. Some of these guys might have already had their stardom and they might be looking for some glory to come back. And some of these guys are still trying to attain glory. So I got 4 names for you, audience here, and Paulie Boy. 4 names, all right? I want your thoughts on a draft. If you buy these guys and you predict stardom or stardom again, or you just dumb. Don't do it. Don't touch them. You ready?
Yeah.
First one, Josh Bell. Pittsburgh Pirates first baseman. So, good year last year. Great year last year.
Great breakout year last year.
All-star year last year.
Absolutely. I don't know where exactly he'd be going in redrafts right now, but if you can get him at decent value, in my opinion, I think first base is pretty deep. Other people have different opinions on that position as a whole, but I mean,
See,
why not?
I don't
I-
think I don't think first base is deep. I
Right.
think third and short are deep. Outfield's deep. First base for the first time in a long time, I think, is not deep. But go ahead.
Right. I think I'm kind of basing it off last year's draft because we haven't drafted yet. Obviously, I'm remembering back to last year's draft, and I remember first base being pretty deep. But this year, maybe different. No, I wouldn't go out of my way to get Josh Bell. I feel like he's like I know you like Brian Reynolds or the kid Newman, but besides them, there's really no other pop in that lineup, in my opinion. You know what I mean? And he's going to be targeted. They're going to be pitching around him. They're not going to let Josh Bell beat them. So, yeah, I'm not going to go out of my way for him.
Yeah. I'm not a Josh Bell guy. I think you'll figure this out. I think, Paul, you know this about me. Lenny Melnick Network, you guys will figure this out about me. I don't like big body guys. I don't like bad body guys. I just
Right.
don't. I'm a anatomy physiology guy. So you might have a year or two of glory, but I don't think it's going to translate long term. Or maybe even into a second year. I'm going to bring up his name again, Jesus Aguilar. Bad body, one great year, and then nothing. He might return in Miami. Who knows? But Josh Bell's another one of those guys. I just think bad body. He fell off the second half of the year too. For the monster first half he had, the
Mhm.
second half was very pedestrian. I mean, it was still okay, but it was just
You
not.
you said that about one player recently
Who?
who had a not so great rookie year and who went off last year.
Who? I
Devers.
know who you're gonna say. Yeah. But
You said that about Devers.
I did, and I'm gonna hold on to that. I don't think Devers 2 years from now we're gonna say he flailed out. I think that's what we're gonna say 2 years from now is that
Okay.
he flailed out. But I gotta be honest with you, I'm looking at the chat room. That last talk about ethics, man, it got the chat room buzzing. We probably should have stayed in there a little bit longer. I mean, we had
Yeah.
Lenny in the mix, Mal, Pal, Andrea, lots of conversation. Sorry, guys, we moved on.
It's a
just because
serious
of time.
topic.
It
It's
is.
a serious
I mean,
topic that people take really seriously.
it is,
know what I
and
mean?
it's definitely worth spending a lot of time with it.
Yeah.
So maybe we will revisit that in the future. Maybe
Yeah,
Lenny,
definitely.
Lenny, maybe one of the mornings you'll talk about fantasy ethics.
Yep.
It's good, great topic. Nobody delivers content like Lenny Melnick and Andrea Lamont. Have you heard the Lady in the Legend on Sunday mornings? Of course. Wait,
I-
hold on. Wait. I know the answer.
I'm usually going to sleep
Hold
as they're
on.
turning on.
I know the answer. It's 7 to 10 in the morning. You don't wake up until 4 p.m. So I know that you have not. But if you get a chance, I'm going to encourage you to go back and listen to them. They're really, really good. They're
Yeah,
really good.
definitely.
So the second guy on this list is Jesus Aguilar. That was totally done by accident. I forgot he was on this list. But Jesus Aguilar. Now, we know in 2018 he had a monster year in Milwaukee. Monster year. And then last year, I mean, like garbage. Not even like, oh, I wouldn't even use the word pedestrian with Aguilar. It was garbage. So what do you think about him in Miami? No pressure, playing, with no fans
Yeah.
around. What kind of Jesus Aguilar? What version of Jesus Aguilar you think we're gonna get?
Did he end up in Tampa at some point last year?
Yes, he did.
He did, right?
Absolutely did. Yep.
Yeah. And they're a team that people can go to and revive their careers for a year or two. And they had no problem getting rid of him. I feel like Miami is like the last stop for most players that are in his position, especially. So, if he doesn't turn it around, I can't see him hanging on much longer in the league. Maybe, he could catch on somewhere in the minors if he doesn't make it in Miami. But I mean, there's not much confidence there. If you want to take a chance on him with your last pick or two, I mean, he's gonna have the at bats, I'm sure. I think they have Garrett Cooper there as well, right? Doesn't he play first base?
Is Garrett Cooper the guy that caught the David Wright last at bat foul ball?
I'm not sure. It might have been.
Come on, Paulie boy, you're a Mets fan.
I thought it was Anderson.
And he got
Thought it might have been
booed.
I thought it might have been Anderson. Brian
Definitely not
Anderson?
Anderson. Definitely
No?
not Anderson. I think it was Cooper. Anyway, keep going.
All right. Yeah.
So
So I mean,
what you're saying is Jesus Aguilar, Miami might be his last stop before irrelevance.
so yeah. So if you're in a redraft and you want to take a chance on a guy like that,
Yeah.
it's not going to last long. So you can draft him and see how it goes for the first few weeks of the season. And if he's batting in the 190s or something like that, or 200, you know what I mean? He's an easy drop. So no, I'm going to say start dumb.
Awesome. Oh, Shelly Burrell. This is my wife's mother jumping into the mix. Shelly, welcome. Welcome.
Wow,
Happy to
that's
have you.
great. That's
Everybody,
great.
if you're in the room, give Shelly a little hello. All right. Next guy. Ready? Paulie, big
Yep,
name.
Yep.
Big name, Joey Votto.
Joey Votto, a star for a long time. He's now in a pretty stacked lineup. He's got some help around him. He doesn't have to put the team on his back. I don't see why not. I'm sure he's not going high in drafts, so I would have no problem taking a chance on Votto this year. In that situation, I think it'd be great.
Well, first off, my mother-in-law, who for the record is 7 years older than I am, so always feels dirty calling her my mother-in-law. Tell Donnie we were just talking about Josh Bell and the Pirates, so he missed it. You're gonna have to go on demand and listen to it. That's a little teaser. All right, go back and listen. But Paulie, to you and I believe in Joey Votto. I really do. I think he's the consummate hitter. I think he's a professional hitter. I think he just had a down year last year. Like you said, he's got some protection this year, which is I think the last time outside of Eugenio Suarez, the last time he had protection was Scooter Gennett with Eugenio, if memory serves right. So now he's got some bigger bats. Who's he got? Moustakas. He's got Castellanos, right?
Yeah, he still got Suarez.
So
you know what I mean? You got the kid Senzel coming up.
So I think he's in his 30s, his mid to late 30s. But I see a good year for him. So I think we're on the same page there. All right. The fourth and last guy on this first base list, Dom Smith. Smith.
I mean, is he a first baseman?
I mean, I think you and I would agree it's all about ABs with Dom Smith, right?
Yeah. It doesn't really matter. I don't see him getting many at bats at first. Obviously, maybe to just give Pete a break once in a while, but I see him getting most of his at bats as a pinch hitter or left fielder, things like that. I love Dom's bat. Yet he's taken such a long amount of time since I feel like they drafted him at such a young age to now, and he's still growing. So he's taken a really long time to develop, but he is at least he's continuing to, progress. You're seeing that progress happen. Yeah. So I do like his bat a lot. Initially, before Pete came on, I thought that Dom was going to be the first baseman of the future, and he had a good glove at first. But that hasn't happened. That's not going to happen. Doesn't seem like. But I think he definitely still has a place on this team, and I love his potential and his bat. So yeah, I would definitely take a chance on Dom.
You know who Dom, and I'm giving him high praise here. You know who Dom reminds me of, and I'm jumping sports here, Paulie. I'm making a bold move. Ready?
Okay. Yeah.
Dom's situation reminds me of Jimmy Garoppolo.
Jimmy Garoppolo.
He does. Jimmy Garoppolo.
So who's Brady? Who's Brady in this situation?
Hold on. It's Alonso, right? So so Jimmy Garoppolo in New England, right? He was just talent. But he's stuck behind a legend. And I know Alonso's first year. I know I'm reaching a little bit here, but I kind of feel bad for Dom Smith. And I feel bad for him, and I also don't want to lose him, but I also want him to go somewhere else because I think he's a likable guy. He seems like a team guy. Right? I mean, the last baseball memory, Paulie, you and I have from last year is him hitting a walk-off home run.
Right.
That's the last memory you and I have.
Came back, yeah.
Yeah, it was like his first at bat back. He hit like a walk-off bomb in the last game of the season. And and I just like him, you know. And I think
He's
the
a
Mets are
likable
gonna.
guy.
He is. If the Mets don't trade him this year, they're gonna have to trade him next year, just
Mhm.
because again he's got nowhere to play, and I
Yeah.
don't think he's a plus defender, right? He's not a really good outfield defender. I know he's a good first base defender, but he's
I
not
have
really good.
quick little add in here. I've always had a trade in mind that he would be a part of,
Oh,
and
I like
it's a
this. Go.
it's a trade that you would not want to do, considering what we just talked about. I
Oh,
would.
so are we getting a closer or a catcher back? I hate this already.
We're getting a closer, and his name is Josh Hader. And Dom Smith would be going to the Brewers as their first baseman of the future, who they do not have at the moment. And the Mets would be getting a stud arm.
But you make
And
it sound like
it doesn't
I
have to
think
be a
Bob.
1-for-1, but
I
you
think
know,
Bob Melvin's still the GM out there. But I mean, what would even entertain them to do that? Hader is the best reliever in baseball. The best reliever, versatile, the best reliever in
Right.
baseball. I don't see it happening. I mean, you obviously have to
Right.
give up a couple of your top prospects in there
you would
too.
give up Dom and maybe another guy or two, but I see him being the centerpiece of a trade for Hader. You know, that's just in my opinion. But you know, I also read something that the Brewers don't really like to do business with the Mets anymore ever since the whole Carlos Gomez
Yeah,
fiasco back.
I'd be pissed off too.
But you know,
Yeah.
it's-
But yeah, I mean, Paulie, just I don't know. Don't be a homer. Don't be a homer, bro. Don't give trades that don't make sense. Oh, you know, Dom Smith, you know, the Angels don't have a first baseman. You know, maybe Trout. Ah, shut up. Listen, you don't even go there. Josh Hader.
no, I don't.
just
I don't. If the Brewers ever wanted to like rebuild or something like that, you know, around and you know bring some guys in, they'd have to give up. They'd have to give up somebody who's expendable, somebody who's gonna you know bring in you know some decent talent back, and Dom Smith would be one of them for a guy like Josh Hader, and I'm sure they could find another two you know decent prospects that they would be fine with and giving up Hader, especially if they weren't really in the mix. You know what I mean? In that division, it's a tough division.
after
So who
that
knows?
proposed trade offer, after that proposed trade after trade offer, Paulie, you know who might be expendable?
Who?
You. This might be the BK and Georgie show soon. Georgie, if you're still
That's
out there, you're on thin ice, Paulie boy. Watch yourself.
If
Watch
you
yourself.
say so. If you say so.
All right. Well, wrapping up. We got about 8 minutes left. So I wanted to end with this. So I'm a little bit of a baseball memorabilia fiend. In particular, I like autographed baseballs. It's really my thing. I like compilation pieces. Like recently, I went and I met them and got Glavine and Maddox and Smoltz and Bobby Cox all in the same ball. I love it. I got about 90 balls altogether. Got no way to display them yet because I live in a little apartment. But my wife and I are talking about getting a house and I'll have a man cave and do all this stuff. Really excited about it. But a friend of mine pointed me to this auction house. And I visit here and there. I dabble. I bought a picture, which I don't do pictures, but a picture of all 4 Mets aces from '86 signed by all of them. That was cool. I got a pitching rubber, a full size pitching rubber. You should have seen my wife's face when this came in. Full size pitching rubber.
Yeah, I bet it was great.
Yeah, she loved that. That came in the house. With a 3,000 strikeout emblem on it, and it's already signed by Niekro and Gaylord Perry and Ferguson Jenkins and Tom Seaver. And now I'm going to try and get a bunch of other guys on it. Like I know that in the Atlantic City event in July, if they're having it, Randy Johnson's going to be there. Clemens is going to be there and try to get more 3,000 guys.
Do you have it? Do you have it with you right now?
Yeah, I got it. It's
What's
in
the
the other
chances
room.
you can pull it out?
Nah, not right now. I got the baby sleeping. Next
Oh.
time I'll do it. But
All right.
what I will show.
I just want to see it, to be honest.
Well, you got to be patient, don't you? Got to be
I
patient.
guess so.
But what I will show you is the piece that I'm talking about right now. So I'm on this auction site, and they have these Hall of Fame cards. A lot of you baseball fans have probably seen them. So when a player goes in the Hall of Fame, they take a picture of their plaque, and a lot of players sometimes sign it, right? So that's cool. So what this auction house had was they had iconic ball players and I guess they had letters that they wrote, like letters to like fans or family or whatever, and they literally cut them up. They cut up the letter and literally put words on the plaque. And the two that they had up was Walter Johnson and Cy Young.
Mhm.
And I know, myself, like I said, I love baseball memorabilia. I have a connection with baseball. I love it. I know I'm probably never going to get those guys' autographs in my life. So I got kind of excited about it. I really did. I got excited about it. I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you what it looks like if you could see it out there. That's Walter Johnson. I don't know.
Can't really see the inscription that he wrote.
It
Oh
literally
yeah.
It literally says this. 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 That's it. But it's certified. Walter Johnson wrote it, and this one is Cy Young, and Cy Young says like 500 wins something on there. So, which I think is kind of cool because he had 511 wins.
Yeah.
But my question to you guys is, how much is too much for a random word? It's just a word, right? It's a word that these iconic guys wrote. How much would you spend for it? Boy, how much would you spend for it? A word.
A word. I don't know. I don't know. It means a lot more to you than it would to me. You do it because you just love this stuff. I would look at it and think about just trying to sell it right away, but I don't know. I would probably spend, I don't know, 20, $30 on one of them.
All right. Well, I spent $110 for the two of them
Mhm.
combined, which I gotta be honest. For me, I know the value is in how much you're willing to pay for them. I actually feel really good about it. I
Yeah.
feel like I have a piece of history, old history. I mean, Cy Young died in the 1950s. Walter Johnson, I'm not
Right.
even sure, before then. So I just think it's really, really cool. But
Yeah, I mean, that's what it's all about, though. What it means to you more than
I
anything.
mean, you should have seen my wife's face when I told her I bought the word "this" for $60.
From a guy who's been dead for a long time.
Yeah, but I mean, she understands. God bless her. She understands my zeal and my passion for the sport. But yeah. So
Right.
anyway, I spent $110 on Cy Young and Walter Johnson jotting something down, one words. But I'm happy to add it to the collection.
Yeah, is that the Dark Knight jersey behind you?
It is. No, it's not the one that I got signed, Dark Knight. This is just the one that I bought. This is All-Star patch.
Oh, okay. That's
Can you
nice.
see it?
Yeah, it is a nice jersey though.
Yeah, All-Star patch. Yeah, I mean, you know what? I'll end on this. Matt Harvey, gets a lot of flack from Mets fans because of the 2015 World Series, because of his attitude, because of how he flailed out, this and that. If it wasn't for him, we would have never made that World Series. And he gave us 3 years of absolute dominance. And the Mets and Scott Boras wanted to Steven Strasburg him. They really did. They wanted to sit him for the 2015 playoffs, and he said no, and he pitched through it. So all the flack that this guy
ruined
gets,
his career, but
you know what though? I mean, what more as a Met fan would you want than that? People were all over Strasburg, even though it wasn't his. Strasburg wanted to pitch back in the day. I forget what year that was with the Nats, but they didn't let him. And maybe the Mets shouldn't have, but we wouldn't have had 2015.
Yeah, I saw a quote from David Wright. I think it was today or the day before, just saying how he owes so much to Matt Harvey for that 2015 season, for that 2015 run.
Exactly.
And when a guy like David Wright is saying something like that about that guy, then it must be true.
Exactly.
I completely agree with you, and I give the guy crap because of how it ended. You know what I mean? He really was it seemed as almost like he was giving up. I don't know what was going on towards the end of his Mets career, but that season in 15 was just magical. And without him and without a few other guys, they would have never had that run at all.
Absolutely.
But he was supposed to be so much more than what he eventually became, and the way he kind of fluttered out was what seemed to really bother Mets fans. But it got us to a World Series.
So
they lost, but
so as you know, I won that jersey that's signed by him, inscribed Dark Knight, and I was down on it for the last 2 years just because of what he became. And then I think over the last 6 months, I said, you know what? Nope. When I have my man cave, I'm gonna get it framed and I'm gonna put it up proudly because Harvey was
Yeah.
the man. Harvey was a stud for us, and there's a reason why I bought it, or I took it. The reason why I bought this one. Listen,
Yeah. Yeah, no, you're right, because at that time he really was like the Dark Knight. Like he was an action figure. Like he was something else.
yeah,
And he was gonna take that team not
it was
only for
exciting,
that year or two to a new spot, but like for a while. And
very
he wound
very
up,
exciting,
yeah, exactly.
very exciting. But anyway, listen, Paulie boy, 8:59 on the button. I got to be honest with you, great show.
Yep.
Great show.
Absolutely.
Loved the participation from Shelly Burrell. Fantastic. Lenny was in the room. Andrea, Malpal. I don't know if Georgie's still in there. Georgie,
Mhm.
I can't keep your listener base. You get 15, 18, 20 in the chat room. I'm down to 7. You gotta tell me your secrets, Georgie baby.
Yeah.
All right, guys,
we
listen.
gotta sit down with him.
Fantasy Fam with BK and Paulie Boy here on the Lenny Melnick Fantasy Sports Network. Thank you as always to Lenny. Thank you as always to Andrea. We appreciate
Yep.
all you guys listening, writing in. We have a blast doing this, and we will see you next week. You good, Paulie
Yes,
Boy?
sir. Yes, sir. Thank you,
All right,
guys.
Later.
Later.